The Catholic Church at a crossroads, justice or silence under Pope Leo XVI. For decades, the Catholic Church has been entangled in one of the most devastating scandals of modern history, the sexual abuse of minors and vulnerable people by its own clergy. The damage inflicted is incalculable. It has destroyed lives, shattered faith, and unmasked the contradictions between the Church's moral teachings and the actions of those entrusted with upholding them. With the election of Pope Leo XVI, many hoped for a turning point, a break from the tradition of silence and secrecy that has plagued the Vatican's handling of clerical abuse. But as we revisit the key cases and patterns of institutional protection of abusers, we are forced to ask, is this new Pope truly committed to justice, or is he simply wearing a more modern mask over the same old silence? A legacy of abuse and cover-ups. The global sexual abuse crisis in the Catholic Church is not a scandal of isolated incidents. It is a crisis of structure and power. Victims across continents, from the United States to Ireland, Chile to Australia, Poland to Mexico, have revealed stories eerily similar: priests who abused children, bishops who covered for them, and a Vatican that prioritized image over justice. Father Maciel Maciel, the Vatican's most protected predator. Founder of the Legionaries of Christ, Maciel Maciel was protected by the Vatican for decades despite multiple reports of abuse from seminarians and even his own biological children. A close ally of Pope John Paul II, Maciel was publicly praised while secretly continuing his predatory actions. Only under Pope Benedict XVI was he finally removed, but without a public trial or Vatican apology. Theodore McCarrick, abuse at the highest levels. McCarrick, once a cardinal in the U.S., sexually abused seminarians and minors for years. Despite warnings, he was promoted by John Paul II and remained influential until 2018. A Vatican report revealed that high-ranking officials, including two popes, had knowledge of the accusations but failed to stop him. The Pennsylvania Grand Jury Report. In 2018, a Pennsylvania grand jury released a 900-page report detailing abuse by over 300 priests and over 1,000 victims across 6 dioceses. The report documented systematic cover-ups by bishops, including destroying evidence and pressuring victims into silence. Bishop Roger Vangelou, Belgium. Vangelou admitted to abusing his nephew for years. Instead of being defrocked immediately, he was allowed to retire quietly and even granted housing. The Vatican's delayed response was a glaring example of its prioritization of reputation over responsibility. Thousands of anonymous cases. Beyond these high-profile examples, there are thousands of cases hidden in archives, locked behind church immunity, or known only to terrified victims. Many priests were quietly moved from parish to parish after complaints, some even sent to missions abroad, where they continued their abuse. Pope Leo XVI, a turning point or a new disguise. When Pope Leo XVI was elected, there was a glimmer of hope. A new face. A new chance to clean the blood-stained altars of truth. His public speeches echoed themes of renewal, justice, and accountability. But speeches are not action. And action, so far, remains dangerously insufficient. Though Leo XVI has created a few commissions and task forces, 2 known cases have already emerged under his pontificate where abusive priests were not defrocked but instead quietly relocated. When pressed by journalists, the Vatican press office issued only vague statements about internal investigations. One of these cases involved a priest in Eastern Europe accused by multiple families of grooming and sexual assault. Rather than turn the case over to civil authorities, church officials allowed him to quietly leave his post for health reasons. He now serves in another diocese under a different title. Another case involves a priest in South America, accused of sexually abusing minors in the 1990s. Survivors petitioned Pope Leo XVI directly. The response? Silence. Why does the Church still protect abusers? The answer is complex but centers on a toxic cocktail of institutional preservation, clericalism, and fear. The Church is structured as a sovereign, male-dominated hierarchy, where power flows from the top down and transparency is rare. To admit the full scale of abuse is to risk financial collapse, moral disintegration, and perhaps worse, a collapse of trust in the very notion that the Church is a conduit to God. As a result, it has too often opted to protect its own, no matter the cost to the faithful. Justice delayed is justice denied. For the thousands of survivors still waiting for justice, the Vatican's slow and evasive response feels like a second abuse. Many are now adults suffering from PTSD, substance abuse, broken relationships, and loss of faith. For some, suicide became the only escape from their trauma. Pope Leo XVI stands at a historical intersection. He can either be remembered as the Pope who broke the Church's wall of silence, or as yet another man in white robes who delivered words but protected the wolves. The choice is now. The world is watching. Survivors are waiting. Justice is screaming from the shadows of churches, seminaries, and rectories. The sacredness of the Vatican is not in its marble halls or golden chalices. It is in its ability to protect the innocent, serve the suffering, and confront the truth, even when it hurts. If Pope Leo XVI wishes to restore the moral authority of the Church, he must act decisively. Not tomorrow. Not next year. Now. Because every day of silence is another day of suffering.